Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your news edition. These are the headlines. The Garage Village iron ore strategic project that attracts the interest of international media, which reflects Algeria's role as an increasing power. The president of the association France-Algeria, Ségolène Royal, holds a press conference during which she reiterates her call for an Algerian-French dialogue based on mutual respect. She also reveals the attacks she suffered from parties against any rapprochement between the two countries. As part of enhancing the role of Algerian ports in international trade, the port of Janjan in Jidel carries out its first transshipment operation. Public television sources reveal the influence of the Minister of Moroccan origin, Rachida Dati, in the France 2 documentary, an unethical journalistic behavior that reveals the will of some parties to hijack any attempt to bring Algeria and France closer. Welcome back. Once overlooked, Algeria's Garage Billet iron ore project is emerging as a game changer for the international economy. Drawing global attention from media and analysts alike, it promises to turn long-neglected natural resources into a strategic industrial and economic powerhouse. Melissa Dira-Balaman.
Long overlooked, the mega project at the Garage Billet iron ore deposit is now taking shape as a strategic inflection point for Algeria's economy. A flagship development with far-reaching impact, it is attracting increasing attention beyond national borders, drawing interest from international media outlets and specialized energy and minerals research institutions. Several U.S. media outlets have openly described Garage Billet as a sleeping giant, now poised to assume a central role in the global mining landscape. Major global economic data and analysis groups, including Bloomberg, note that Algeria is gradually asserting itself as an emerging mining power. They point in practical the launch of the Béchar-Tindouf Garage Billet railway line, seen as a decisive shift in the rules of the game for North Africa's mining sector. The Wall Street Journal highlights the competitive edge the project gives Algeria, especially with regard to European markets, citing geographic proximity and significantly lower transport costs. Al Monitor, for its part, argues that Algeria is doing more than building rail infrastructure. The country is laying the groundwork for a strategic industrial hub designed to link the Mediterranean basin with the African hinterland. For Forbes, Garage Billet ranks among the most ambitious initiatives undertaken on the African continent in the 21st century. The magazine presents the project as a model of structured sovereign investment capable of turning long-neglected natural resources into natural economic value. The specialized platform, Energy Capital and Power, emphasizes that the Western Rail Corridor forms the logistical backbone of Algeria's economic diversification strategy, one conceived to move decisively beyond dependence on hydrocarbon. Finally, the U.S. Geological Survey now views Algeria as a rising player in the global iron and steel market, stressing that rail infrastructure development is the essential technical prerequisite for translating Garage Billet's potential into effective industrial output. Through this project, Algeria is placing its natural resources at the center of a renewed economic, industrial, and geostrategic trajectory.
During her visit to Algeria, Ségolène Royal, president of the France-Algeria Association, engaged in high-level discussions to advance bilateral relations, highlighting the importance of dialogue, reconciliation, and closer ties between the two countries. Basma Fad.
True to her own convictions and known for her direct approach, Ségolène Royal reaffirmed her determination as the president of France-Algerian Association to work actively towards removing obstacles hindering relations between Algeria and France. Responding to the campaign led by certain French media outlets against Algeria, Royal said these attacks, driven by well-known circles, are intended to undermine any effort towards dialogue and strengthen ties between the two countries.
Il y a le mépris pour une femme, ça n'a pas beaucoup changé. Women are not being respected. Nothing really changed as if their voice were not legitimate. And on the other side, there is fear of the truth, of my freedom to speak, and on my ability to continue to carry the weight in the political debate. But that is not a problem, because I will tell you this. It is precisely when we see reactions of violence that we realize how difficult reconciliation truly is, and that in fact gives even more strength to the process, because reconciliation, which requires acknowledging what happened, is actually easy for France to undertake, and that is what those who oppose reconciliation and recognition know. They know it is easy. When they hear me speak, because I also help those who do not know Algeria, who do not know the history, who ask, what is this all about? People who are trapped in a negative perception of things. Through speaking, you know words are powerful if they are used properly, and that is what I try to do. Speak with truth, with transparency, dignity, and calm.
C'est quelque chose de puissant, si on l'utilise bien. Et c'est ce que j'essaye de faire en vérité, en transparence, en connaissance, en tranquillité.
Addressing the memory issue, Ségolène Royal expressed optimism about the adoption of a parliamentary amendment calling for the opening of files related to the French nuclear tests in the Algerian Sahara.
Le vote ce matin.
And this morning, as you can see, a parliamentary amendment on the opening of files related to nuclear tests in the Sahara was adopted. It was passed this morning. This is the first time a parliamentary amendment has given the government a 6-month deadline to disclose their information on the consequences of the nuclear test, as public health issue still persists.
The president of the France-Algeria Association described her visit as fruitful, and regarding the case of French journalist Christophe Glaise, welcomed the decision taken by the Prime Minister of Justice, allowing her to visit him.
Le bilan est très constructif.
The outcome is very constructive. It is constructive because things are moving. For example, the visit to Christophe Glaise is truly the culmination of a successful visit, and that sends an important signal. It shows that when one speaks with respect, humility, calm and clarity, the Algerian president and government are eager to resume dialogue precisely to address pending issues.
Utilité et d'évidence, eh bien, je sais que le président et que le gouvernement algérien ne demandent qu'à renouer ce dialogue précisément pour régler les questions en suspens.
Reaffirming her commitment to strengthening bilateral cooperation, Ségolène Royal announced her intention to contact the president of MEREF to arrange a visit to Algeria with the aim of deepening economic and strategic ties.
In a significant step toward enhancing the role of Algerian ports in international trade, the port of Djindin in Didal has carried out its first ever transshipment operation. This unprecedented achievement of the port marks a qualitative development in Algeria's national port system, reinforcing Djindin's growing position as a regional and international logistic hub. Questions arising over the editorial independence of France's public broadcaster after an Algerian television investigation alleged political influence behind content deemed hostile to Algeria, naming France's Minister of Culture, Rachida Dati, amid broader debates over media neutrality and accountability. Melissa Balaman.
According to several analysts, links between certain French political figures and the media handling of international issues are increasingly raising doubts about the editorial independence of France's public broadcaster. In this context, Rachida Dati, France's Minister of Culture and a candidate for mayor of Paris, has been named in several ongoing corruption-related cases, currently under review by the French judiciary. In a dramatic turn in the Dati case, the current Minister of Culture's home has been raided. Operations are ongoing. She was already under judicial investigation and is set to stand trial for corruption in September in connection with the so-called Renault affair. An investigation aired by Algerian television titled France, Media and Propaganda reported that Rachida Dati was among those directly responsible for the broadcast on France 2 of false and fabricated claims contained in content hostile to Algeria in line with her orientations. According to the same resources, Dati is said to be among the officials who approved or influenced content broadcast on the public channel France 2, material described as inaccurate and harmful to Algeria. The sources also cite directives that led to the dissemination of misleading information, reviving debate over political accountability in the editorial direction of certain French public service programs. Rachida Dati, of Moroccan origin, is portrayed as a figure linked to opaque financial networks and political back channels associated with the Makhzen, serving foreign agendas hostile to Algeria, a trajectory marked by opportunism and long-standing patterns of political and media predation. A minister cannot remain in office while being referred to criminal court for corruption. This is ultimately the responsibility of the Prime Minister and the President. But for ordinary working people who pay taxes and see their money go to waste, it is shocking to witness someone being sent to trial for corruption. According to these analyses, France's public audiovisual sector is increasingly being used as a political messaging tool, particularly amid domestic electoral competition. The situation highlights persistent tensions surrounding media coverage of Algeria and raises questions about adherence to objectivity and neutrality within France's public information service.
Strong winds will continue to blow until Sunday and may exceed 100 kilometers per hour, according to an orange special weather report. Meteo Algérie announced thunderstorms and rains that may reach or exceed 50 millimeters in coastal regions. Dear citizens, stay safe, stay vigilant, and avoid all danger areas. And despite the ceasefire agreement, the Zionist entity continues its barbaric attacks. In Gaza, 4 Palestinians were murdered on Friday morning by the Zionist army in Benghazi and Khan Yunis camps. The humanitarian situation is still chaotic as more than 100,000 children are suffering malnutrition and hundreds of thousands of others are in urgent need of decent shelters for winter. The United Nations Secretary General highlighted the necessity of respecting the ceasefire to be able to launch the second phase of the agreement, which means the withdrawal of the Zionist forces and opening the way to humanitarian aid. And housing demolitions in Morocco continue to spark public outrage as affected families report losing not only their homes but also their livelihoods and basic social protections. Despite ongoing warnings from civil society and human rights organizations, entire households are being displaced, worsening poverty and social instability. Basma Far.
Demolition operations are still underway in several parts of the country. Human rights associations have repeatedly raised concerns, yet the social situation remains alarming. Homes are being demolished, families are left without shelter. This situation intensifies vulnerability and strips citizens of their most basic rights. I was deprived of my property. I have the right to housing like everyone else. I lost my property. I am entitled like all citizens to access a decent housing. This man you are evicting doesn't even have a place where to sleep. If you destroy his house, do you expect him to sleep at the station? My husband passed away. I was left with nothing. Are you going to build a house for me? For individuals with no family support, no financial means and no alternatives, eviction becomes an impossible demand. Ordering them to leave amounts to pushing them into homelessness. Some of us are ill, none of us have the means to survive. We no longer know what to do, we are completely lost. The floods destroyed everything, there is nothing left except me. My husband who is ill and my daughter who is still studying at university. Many Moroccans now say they no longer know which authority to rely on or where to seek protection. Uncertainty dominates daily life, with protests continuing in several sectors after long periods of neglect followed by repression for these citizens. Their own country no longer feels like a safe haven.
And with this, we come to the end of our edition. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Have a good night.